let's have a look. Let's have a look at the footage. It would seem that robot is on drugs. As we're about to see, I'd say it would seem that robot is on drugs.
Well, in case you are confused, this is prominent troll on the Flat Earth side, Mr. Cheswick, announcing his departure from YouTube in January. Of course, one would scratch their head and say to themselves, what in the hell does this mean? Because he's labeled 2019, and some people think maybe it's an accident, right? Maybe he meant 2020. We're going to talk about it. Maybe you guys have an opinion and can straighten it out. It was published on September 12th, today. So on his channel, maybe he just got the thing. Maybe he's got, 10-1. Maybe that's October 1st, not for 110. I've heard people say that. And that is a common way in the UK. Well, not in the UK, in the military, that you actually do this with your dates. So October 1st. Did he get the 19 wrong? Who knows? You have to make up your mind. All it seems to mean is here, he's upset because his own following thinks that he is a shill now that he met up with Roxanne the Globalist Denier. That's right. There is a channel that exists called Roxanne the Globalist Denier. So does that mean that she just denies that globalists exist? Or is it from the flat earth pretense where they call globe believers globalists, so she's denying globalists? God only knows. I tried to watch some of her content. It's a little bit crazy. But this is indicates a trend that I've predicted for 8 months. You recall I had a series called Kicked Out of Flat Earth, where some of the bigger flat earth channels were legitly getting kicked out of the greater flat earth community. Jaron, Bob, those guys. I did a Nathan Oakley when he got kicked out. So I've got my regular nightly show, which consists of all these crazy clips. Most of them all happened today, right? And I'm going to show them to you and process them. But before we do anything else, this is the first thing we are doing. So, on September 9th, just a few days ago, a Flat Earth channel, some of you know him, it's Ranty. If you've ever watched Ranty, you know that he is the one Flat Earther that has proven the globe more than any other Flat Earther. No joke. We gotta watch Conspiracy Cats in order to discover all those great instances. They're very funny. But he hosted what he calls a scientist. See, these guys are so disrespectful, dude. Like, the reason why it's labeled scientist versus flat earther is because Ranty and Sleeping Warrior are very disrespectful people. And even though this professor, university professor, 65 years old, traveled to Antarctica, done all these accomplishments, they deny that he's done it because he's not going to prove it to him for some reason or another. But he did. He created a webpage. He uploaded proof that he is a professor. They won't call him a professor, though. Very rude. I mean, this is the thing. This video does not just have an excellent speech from Professor Philip Bell, and I don't know anything about Professor Philip Bell. I'm not, vouching for the guy. I just like what he says in this video. First time I ever heard him. Love to interview him on this channel. Professor Philip Bell, if you ever get this message, email me. I will have you on my show. It's whenever you can come. I'll have you on this weekend. Because what he says to these guys is so true. Now, I'm going to have to remember this from 2 or 3 days ago when I watched it at the late night show on D Live. Every night on D Live, I go live after this show, do some stuff while watching videos to get caught up on things, right? So that I can make videos if I want the next day or whatever. So I watched this entire thing. It starts out, and it's a beautiful conversation when Professor Philip Bell makes a Dell. Did I say Dell? Don't tell him. He hates me. He rants about me constantly. I'm starting to save the clips. I'm going to do a movie of Dell. I'm going to put a movie out to Sundance Film Festival. It's just going to be Dell ranting about UNIRock. Dell versus UNIRock next year at the Sundance Film Festival. I'm going to submit it. I don't know if they'll let it go through, but I'm going to submit it. Anyway, Professor Philip Bell has a great speech ready, and he's laid out all of his points. But one of the things he does in the very beginning is make a plea to all the flat earthers and even the people that believe in the globe to stop the toxicity, stop the arguing. Don't attack people just because they have this thought process on either side. And that's what makes the speech so awesome. Then he goes into things that Sleeping Warrior has done that are wrong. And then he goes into how flat earthers, if they want to be taken seriously, must sit down together and instead of just arguing semantics or logical fallacies, which I could go into a rant right now on that, but I won't. And instead of the rhetoric, arguing the rhetoric for 5, 6, or 7 years on YouTube, he states what they would need to do to actually be taken seriously by scientists. And he puts out a point that if they would do it, they wouldn't be disrespected. He first says criticized, and then he's attacked for saying criticized. You're going to hear it in a minute. But he elaborates to say, that's not what I meant. I meant that if you take the effort to try and sit down and take a thought that you have, a hypothesis even, and work out the model, work out the math, work out the points, and you bring it to the scientific community, yes, you'll be criticized, but you will not be ridiculed. You will not be put down. In fact, they will look at you as if you are trying to dip your toe into the scientific base of knowledge, and they'll treat you good for it, right? So everything you're about to hear Professor Philip Bell say is so great. It's so perfect. He literally exercises every point for them. He gives them a roadmap of what they could do to be taken seriously by the scientific community. And then they wouldn't have to shun it like they've been doing. And he passes the conversation over to Sleeping Warrior. And Sleeping Warrior, in the way that he reacts to what the professor says, proves that he is a narcissist, a liar, a con man. And it's so evident. So I'm going to play it for you. I'm going to react to it, narrate it, point things out as we go. One thing that Professor Philip Bell said in the very beginning, he says, we aren't here to attack each other. We're not here to pick, to expose, to complain. We're here to talk about the actual science and our reasonings, our reasons for why we think what we do. He makes a plea to not attack each other and not to attack him. What do you think the first thing that comes out of Sleeping Warrior's mouth is? I really don't want to tell you because I want it to be a shocking thing, right? It'll still be shocking even if I give you some clues. The first thing the Sleeping Warrior does is try to expose personal messages between the professor and Sleeping Warrior. That's his first point in a rebuttal against this massive presentation that completely debunks the flat earth and exercises why it's so wrong. His first inclination is to do exactly what the professor begged for everyone to stop doing, to try to leak the private DMs that they have and then attack the professor and challenge whether he is a professor or not. Literally predicted by Professor Philip Bell going into the conversation. It is such an epic thing. I'm sorry for the long intro, but it's needed to preface this like amazing thing that I discovered just days ago when I was chilling at the end of the day on D Live. So let's get into this, but please don't think this is all I got for you. I know people are busy. They can't make it to all the live shows. I get it. But then we're going to listen to a flat earther argue for why a robot is taking drugs on the International Space Station. I'm not kidding. This is a real clip from a real video.
Yes, after a pantomime docking saga going on. It got there, now they've sent it back. You have to ask, why have they sent it back? Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at...
I just want to hear you accuse the robot. All I care is you accusing the robot.
Come through the hatch. It's doing a few exercises. Shrooms. Just tripping out as it's come through the hatch.
Oh, here it is.
As the footage on robot supposedly sent to the ISS after a pantomime docking.
Oh, anyway, he says that the robot is taking drugs on the ISS. That's what his title says. It's a funny video. We're going to look at it. Then we're going to jump over to Flat Earth Ultimate Supreme Proof. Now, you know there's a lot of proof because Ultimate and Supreme are in caps. That means this proof is going to prove the flat earth in under 2 minutes and shut up every one of those dumb space globe-brained people that exist. Then, I don't know what this is, but several clips, these are from the last 24 hours. Everything except for the conversation from before is from the last 24 hours. Massive flat earth disinfo campaign to discredit investigation Christopher Green. I don't know what this is about, but they're acting like it's a big deal, so we'll see. And then I found this old clip searching around of Sleeping Warrior showing you how much he really knows about mathematics. And then it'll come crystal clear why he tries to attack the application of mathematics to reality in this conversation we're going to watch once you actually see how little this guy knows about math, or maths, as people would say overseas. Remember, all of this is on the heels of Mr. Cheswick quitting the flat earth due to them eating each other up in the comment sections and accusing him of being a shill. Turns out he could troll Fight the Flat Earth, he could troll Simon Dan, he could troll Conspiracy Cats, he could troll all these different channels. But the minute he gets a little bit of trolling for being a shill and meeting up with Roxanne, the globalist denier, he takes off. He leaves YouTube. Mr. Cheswick, you can spit it, but you can't take it, huh? All of that tonight, right now, on UNIRock Live, September 12th of 2019, broadcasting straight from the East Coast of the glorious United States of America. As always, wherever you're from is glorious, too. I love every country, the people in every country I've been to, and been to many of them. Thank you for being here. Let's get this started. Appreciate ya. This is UNIRock Live. Take it away. Take it away, Busy.
Do a quick mic check and see if everybody's there. Hello, Sleeping.
Which I'm just to flick through just for the benefit of the audience.
Okay, no problem. Tony, if you could give him the mic whilst he does his little presentation.
The screen that I shared.
Okay.
Probably. Okay. What can you see on the screen?
I can see myself, so it's all good.
And okay, can you see the screen that I shared?
I can, yes.
Okay, and that says what?
You're showing the Skype window at the minute.
Oh, okay. All
So-
right. I'm trying to share the screen. That,
Yeah, you are sharing the screen. If you minimize now, if you
He means he's trying to share the screen to the audience, Dumbo.
that somebody was saying that the Earth was flat, so I thought, well, that's ridiculous. I'm going to have a look at it. And
So what the professor says before this point basically is, hi, I'm a professor. I noticed that there are people saying that the Earth is flat on the internet. It seems incredibly ridiculous with the science that's out there and the ways that you can confirm it for yourself. So I decided to take a look, and then he starts to give this presentation.
and then that led into a major rabbit hole of unbelievable underworld of people who actually did believe that the Earth is flat. Okay, now.
okay, so you see that
the thing
little.
about it-
Sorry, just one thing, Professor Phil. You see the little the X on the top right of that little box that's there. If you just click that, if you just click that, it'll get rid of it. There we go. Perfect.
Okay, all right, that's good. Thank you for that. Okay, so so let me just talk about some of the observations that I have from this. And first of all, I find that it's quite toxic, and for that reason, I don't know why that should be like that, because that tends to be a toxic environment when people hold onto beliefs, and no matter what, will not relinquish them, even in the face of evidence. Now,
He's sounding very logical. He's talking about how toxic Flat Earth is and how people will not, how that always happens when people will not relinquish belief in the face of evidence, which is, a great point. Notice, actually, let me just do this so you can see how much money Ranty gets while this all goes on. Just take note to how much money Ranty makes as this goes, okay? So the guy obviously has taken his time, not just to give a really good look to what's going on out there, but to form, he's had enough time to form an opinion. It's not just when he's jumped in. Here, I paused it when I was live listening to this at this point, and I said, Professor Phil, yes, there's a lot of toxicity out there. Most all of it comes from the Flat Earth community. You will find that out. I remember saying, you will find that out as time goes on. He finds that out as soon as he's done talking.
Now, I say that from both the perspective of somebody who believes in the heliocentric model and someone who believes in the flat Earth model. I say that reservedly, of course, the word model. However, well, I think I'll continue to use that. Okay. Now, what I've discovered is a lot of aggression in this discourse. For instance,
Ranty, can you please get your fat Dumbo head out of the way? We don't need to constantly see you sitting there in front of his presentation, for God's sakes.
Anthony's
Hold on, let me put that there.
Anthony's discussion with a couple of graduates just recently. I had a look at that, and I guess that's what prompted me to say, look, let's have a chat.
Okay, so what he's saying is, if you don't know what happened, Riley, Sleeping Warrior, had a discussion with a few academics, and he witnessed it and said to himself, I'm going to try to get a hold of some flat earthers and sit down and have a chat. Okay, just to let you know, Riley did have this like impromptu interview thing between a few people. He came out of it. He went to the Flat Earth Debate channel, announced how he won the conversation when it was the exact opposite, as always, announced how math can't be applied. If they only knew that you can't use math, you know, all this craziness, just so you're caught up there, okay?
Now, one of the things that the Flat Earth people are saying constantly is that academics, scientists don't want to engage in the discourse. And that's true. And the reason they don't is is because of this aggression that's going on. And it does nothing for their careers. You get an aggressive person who has no manners at all. You then have a debate with them. You put what you think is your view on the line, and they spend their entire time just simply attacking the person rather than attacking the idea.
I cannot believe that he made this argument just to get attacked by Sleeping Warrior for a solid 30 minutes. It literally exposes Sleeping Warrior in every conversation and debate he has. He always goes for a semantic argument. A lot of people don't understand what I mean by that. Oakley and Riley, either on their debate shows or their closed-off echo chamber, or whether when they go out and talk to other people, they find topics that they know other people are going to have a hard time arguing and try to make that the center point of the discussion. Or they take things that are established, like mathematics and, you know, a formula that would represent force and, you know, E equals MC squared or some other established thing, and they act like math cannot be applied to reality, while at the same time, though, picking the formulas they wish to use to make their points with, right? So I get where he's coming from, and he makes this excellent argument about how we can't attack each other. If you're going to attack each other, any professional will avoid you. If they know you have a propensity to look up who they are, do YouTube videos about their life and their work and where they live and all these things, of course you're going to scare away any professional from coming up here, because they're going to be worried about the crazy people on the exterior who witness you investigate their life on your channel. And Flat Earthers can't say they don't do this. I've heard this on Flat Earth Debate. I've heard it on Sleeping Warrior's show. And most ironically, I heard it this very discussion as soon as the professor finishes talking. I felt so bad for him. I immediately started to say on the live show, I want to have that professor on my show just to ask him what he thinks about Sleeping Warrior attacking him as a person right after he made this argument, how if you really do think the earth is flat, you will not attack people for the people they are. You will talk about the earth and the math and the science, right?
In this particular session now, I will not be tolerating any discussion about my career. I will not tolerate any discussion about what I do, because those, as far as I'm concerned, is irrelevant. We're here to discuss the science. And so I will refrain. I had quite a lot to say about it.
Oh, Professor Phil, if you only would have talked to some of the Globe Earth YouTubers out there, some of the Flat Earth debunkers, they would have told you, if you say that when you go into this discussion, the first thing that Sleeping Warrior is going to do is attack you as a person, your career, and the other things about you you don't want him to attack. It'll be the tactic he uses, because I think that Sleeping Warrior tries to figure out how he can fluster the people he talks with. He's probably scared of this professor, someone that's studied science his entire life, who's been to Antarctica, who's been to other continents, other places, and done lots of work and taught other people, taught lots of students, right? And he's got to find some way to win the conversation, in my opinion. I knew that the minute I heard him talking. I paused it on D Live and said, oh yeah, you're wrong. He's going to come after you now. Then also, I just said something really prophetic with what's going to happen next, but I'll let him talk a little more. I don't want to rant too long.
About Israeli, but I'll refrain from saying any of that. I'll just simply discuss what he says. Okay, so in a nutshell, before I go into what is science, I will just reiterate what I think Mr. Riley thinks. And particularly his method of dealing with this discourse.
You know, and I'm really glad that Professor Phil does this. It gives a really good summation of Sleeping Warrior's tactic. And I think that the professor thought, if I call him on his tactic when I start this, he won't want to use that tactic because he knows it'll expose him. Oh, were you wrong, Professor Phil?
This is my view, of course, and he'll have his opportunity to argue the point. My view is that he wants to reduce science to the four corners of a contract. That's in a nutshell. So that says that, so basically define science within these parameters, and thou shalt not deviate from this at all. Well,
okay. So he wants to, as in Sleeping Warrior, wants to define science in the term of a contract. That makes a lot of sense. Sleeping Warrior was a student of law. He always dodges when people ask him if he was a lawyer or where he practiced law or how he practiced law from what I've seen. But he at least admits he was a student of law. So it is a really good observation. He puts science into the four corners of a contract. That's also a kind of a statement, right? It's a common statement. It's a way of saying something, right? Not really in the United States. You don't hear that often, but it is a common, descriptor. It's something people say a lot. There we go. It's a term.
It doesn't work like that. It changes. It evolves. It's predictable and unpredictable as well. So one of the things that Mr. Riley says is Einstein replaces Newton, for instance. Let's do that as an example.
Yeah, and he's right. And one thing that is always descended upon is when I feel that when the flat earthers find something that works for them, they use it a lot. And that's something that he does use a lot, right? Why is it, though? Like, why does Sleeping Warrior always default back to Einstein replaces Newton as if, okay, now everything Einstein said is irrelevant because, everything Newton said is irrelevant because, Einstein replaced him. It's one of his type of legal contract-like tactics. But it doesn't mean that everything that Newton said was defeated by Einstein. We all understand how science works. Each new person comes in, they introduce a new thought process that they try to prove with experiment, and then submit their findings to the entire world so that everybody gets to look at it, pull it apart, piece it back together, find the faults, find where, if there aren't any faults, whether they can actually agree on all of it. How can you say that that is some type of religion or some type of, bad thing when you're basically describing a fact-checking process with the ultimate level of other people being able to, prove you wrong, right? How can you say that that is bad? Or, what else would you use? What would you replace it with? The peer review process. What do you replace that with that would work better? Really nothing, right? I've always found that flat earthers, when they state the scientific method, like to leave out the peer review process as part of it. And you know why they do that. But I won't go in deep. I'll let the professor talk because he does a great job.
Okay. In Newton's day, Newton, by the way, an icon of science for having come up with the equations that he did. And on top of that, the calculus, which is no mean feat.
Whoa!
So Newton...
Secret Shadow Gov, you're going to make me choke on my tea. I love you. The earth is not flat, very much so, and thank you, my friend.
Worked out that gravity...
Damn, I've never had a donation almost make me choke on my tea before, but that one did it. That one did it.
Pretty much the explanation for almost everything that's in motion that we see around the universe.
Okay, so you guys know what I'm about to do. And really, thank you, man. I really appreciate you. You guys know what I'm about to do. I'm about to skip through this. I have to. Because, for one, I really do think you should go watch it. Yes, even though it's on Ranty's channel. Hey! Fantorang. Dude, the more members we get, the closer we are to our next emoji. And the next one is going to be better than the space comma. I know what you're thinking. How can a next emoji be better than a space comma? It's going to be better, okay? So as I get more members, we'll get more emojis. Take me up on that challenge. You got me. Thank you for joining. So I'm going to start skipping through some of the stuff the professor says, of course, because I want to make a point to this. I might even upload a video on this conversation, and I'm definitely going to invite Professor Phil on my show. I just don't know how to get a hold of him. I'm going to try. If one of you guys can get a hold of Professor Phil, let him know to please come talk here. I'd love to have him. I want to talk to him about this conversation and about everything else he said that night. But unlike this conversation, I'm going to let Professor Phil come up here and say whatever he wants, and I won't attack him as a person, but as he's about to be. It is on Ranty's channel, so maybe if you go download it, then if you need to watch it a couple times or skip through it or something, it won't give him extra views, because he's a charlatan. Yeah, Ranty is a con artist. He's just trying to start another Flat Earth debate channel so people have an alternative to Nathan Oakley's psychosis, right? Which, it's not a bad idea, Ranty. I got to give you credit. People don't like the Flat Earth debate because of Nathan Oakley being there. People think they know that he likes to beat his kids in the middle. There is video evidence of this. He likes to beat on his kids in the middle of a damn video stream. He likes to yell and scream and mute people and then kick them out. And I'll tell you what, if you can stop from screaming and yelling like a crazy psychopath, if you could not mute and kick people, and you could maintain composure throughout your stream, you may replace the Flat Earth debate as the prominent Flat Earth debating headquarters. I don't like that idea because I don't think you deserve it. You are a con man just like the rest of them, but hey, it's a free country. Do your thing. Okay, I'm going to start skipping through it. You need to hear what Professor Phil says. Let's go ahead and do that now, because I don't want to do a long show. We'll be on D Live after this. We might watch it again there, but anyway. Here we go. We're going to start skipping through what he said. I'm going to hit the good points. Remember what he said at the beginning, though. What did he say? What did Professor Phil say? We're not here to attack each other. If you really want to prove something, you can't prove anything about the Earth by attacking Professor Phil. And if you keep attacking academics, if you keep attacking university trained and professional people who could actually sit down and look at your models, look at your submissions, and help you to get past the errors you're making, if you could not attack those people, more of them will come talk to you, right? Remember he said that, please, as we skip through.
And explains, for instance, the motion of something that falls if you let it go, i.e. this famous apple that's supposed to have fallen on the apple.
Okay, so he kind of goes in, but he's got a great presentation, and he goes and hits a lot of good points like.
The current gravity model has limitations at the very large and very small domains. But in everyday life, it explains all the observations and makes astonishing precise predictions. Now,
yeah, it definitely does. It definitely does. So he hits the gravity model. He does a lot of good discussion on it. What does he mean by the very large domains, black holes, gravity waves, things like that? We just haven't studied them. These are newer discoveries, right? We don't have an Einstein right now. We've had people that are as brilliant as Einstein come and go, but would it be nice to have somebody like Einstein that could revolutionize our understanding of gravity waves, of dark matter, and all these different things that we've discovered? Sure, we just don't have that yet. And then at the smallest level, of course, he's talking about the molecular level or at the extremely small level. But in between that, we've got great evidence. The math we have and the observations we have can be used to predict things. We can pretty much tell you where anybody in the sky is going to be at any given date in the future. That's an accomplishment, right?
To get by time to get a distance and a velocity, and you'll see that it doesn't work. It would be whizzing by in about 20 seconds.
Okay, so then he goes into how their models, their descriptions of things like the AE map or the sun and moon being close, he goes through and very simply but systematically debunks them. And I bet you he's not even seen Professor Dave Explains videos, but just like any good science major or professor, the conclusion that he comes to is the logical conclusion, and it's very similar to what Professor Dave said in his analysis of the Flat Earth movement.
I wouldn't be able to get my car to keep up with it. Okay, conclusion. So we're nearly there. If you're confident of a model that explains all these things adequately and simultaneously, then we can move on to more complicated observations.
So he presents the best thing that he could. I mean, he gives them a great service. A professor who's 65 years old and worked in the field his entire life that is willing to sit down to let them come up with a way that the sun and moon and earth works, day-night cycle, basic gravity, why it's not buoyancy, things about every little loophole in the flat earth movement. He lists it and says, if you can take the fact that I've debunked all of this, come back with a model, with a replacement, with things that make sense, with things that can't be immediately debunked, he himself will sit down. He'll help you do the math. He'll help you do the modeling. That's when I remembered that Sleeping Warrior just had a fight a few weeks ago with another channel called AB Science. I believe it was AB, right? AB Science. Yeah. And now this is a good channel. Once I discovered AB's videos, I really liked him. He does a really good job, in my opinion. If you look here, if we go down just a couple weeks ago, Sleeping Warrior response and some errata, Sleeping Warrior's relative density disequilibrium, and the start of a model. If you don't know what happened here, another trained scientist, a physics professor, I believe, or he could just be a physics student, or I don't know. You have to ask AB. He tells you on his channel. I just don't remember. He actually saw that Sleeping Warrior was trying to do an experiment and went in and did the math for Sleeping Warrior's model of his experiment. Now, Sleeping Warrior, of course, what do you think he did? Attacked him, flipped out about it, threw a hissy fit, whined and cried like a little baby, tried to argue in a, court way, like in a lawyer's way, the things that he was talking about. And AB came back and smashed the guy. I wondered if Professor Phil had not seen this, because I don't know if he knew that Sleeping Warrior had just had an interaction with another physicist before he talked to Professor Phil, but I almost called him Dr. Phil. Not the same doctor. Anyway, though, it reminded me of it, and then that's when I thought, oh yeah, Sleeping Warrior's about to attack this guy, isn't he? Well, he didn't let me down.
The best way to do
like gravity, planetary motion.
Now, normally I would skip right to the moment where Professor Phil stops talking, and right at the moment where Sleeping Warrior starts talking. But there's too much drama. I've got to get the exact moment. So we're going to have to listen for a second so that you can hear exactly what Sleeping Warrior does.
Etc. Thank you.
Here it is.
That. So I want to get back to this. So I presume I'll go here. All right. Okay, so that concludes what I have to say.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Tony, do you need to do a presentation, or are you ready to just get straight into the debate here?
Oh, my. Does he want to do a presentation? Why, yes, he does.
Yeah, I'm going to do a presentation because...
he wants to.
To be honest, the amount of slides that the guys presented there, really, he should have given me these so that I was able to, get all the evidences together. Cause
it's so dumb, okay? Professor Phil literally completely debunked that dumb shit, right? There's no response. He understands it's going to take you a massive amount of time, if you do it correctly, to sit down and respond to him. So why would he do that? Why would he send you? It doesn't make sense to send you his presentation in this circumstance if you watch the whole thing. But of course, how does he start? He knows he's been defeated. Sleeping Warrior knows that Professor Phil has debunked every point of the flat earth that these guys hold as their tropes or their sticking points. So, of course, he defaults to the only thing he can do.
Because to expect me to respond to that amount of slides with that amount of assertions, ad hoc, on demand, without...
They weren't assertions. They weren't assertions by any means. He fully explained it. There's nothing left. I mean, he did almost as good of a job or even a better job than Professor Dave did. You can't call it an assertion.
verbal, with it being just verbal only. If he wanted more than just verbal explanation, it really isn't fair. He should have disclosed this beforehand, because I would have been able.
So it is my opinion that he knows he's lost and starts his first defense mechanism. Hey, everybody out there, I'm about to look like a complete idiot. So all of my viewers, the Flat Earth community that supports me with their money, I want you to know something unfair just occurred. It's a conspiracy. Professor Phil conspiracied me already. It has to be the bad guys, the ones that have lived for thousands of years and have controlled the globe narrative. It's the globalists. They did it.
Able to give comprehensive evidences that go against the assertions that are presented.
You can't. The stuff he said is let's go with the day-night cycle. He talked about how on a flat Earth, like Sleeping Warrior just stated even a couple days ago, that the sun has to be local and the moon has to be local and blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. He completely debunked it with just a few points. And, like, you know what you could do? Sleeping Warrior could easily just go to Professor Dave's video. It's the same thing, right?
Or to explain the assertions that are presented, but without having that advanced disclosure, I'm having to do it purely by voice.
You shouldn't even be trying. You think you're going to debunk how he just said that? Like in Professor, I just put it up on my channel like yesterday or the day before. Professor Dave explains that you'll have a sun moving, but if you're going to say that the sun's local, you have to explain how the seasons would blah blah blah, and that debunks it. And so the only option you have is that the sun changes into another path at that time, but the sun moves at the same speed, so that debunks that. Everything he said was straightforward and correct. So I don't know what he means by he's going to debunk his assertions he just made. Everything he gave you was fact.
Explanation by the dialogue, and that's not really the best way to do it, but it's the best I can do with what I was given. What I'm going to do is make my presentation the way I was going to do originally. Ranty, I'm going to screen share in one.
Now, when he does the screen share, Professor Phil can see it before the audience gets to see it. Just understand that one more time. He's going to share his screen. Ranty, Sleeping Warrior, and Professor Phil are going to be able to see what he's presenting before the audience gets to see it, okay?
One sec while I get my first slide up. Okay, so let me screen share, Ranty. Let me know when you see it. And if you wouldn't mind sticking yourself on mute, because you have a lot of background noise, Phil.
Okay, yes, you are on. You are sharing right now.
Phil didn't have any background noise. I don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, so
I think he wanted to mute Phil so that Phil couldn't interrupt him right here, but he didn't mute himself, thank God.
Ranty gave me the message that we asked at the end of the hangout yesterday with Toady, and this is an extract from the...
So he's saying, before going in to these excellent debunks against every part of the ridiculous flat Earth model, the ridiculous assertions like the local sun, like the day-night cycle that they say they've explained, even though it has more holes in it than Swiss cheese, he decides instead that he's going to pull up a conversation that they had setting this up.
The message.
Sounds like you're about to attack Professor Phil.
And it really, I'm going to go through this.
Listen, I object to you showing my private emails to...
So Professor Phil is going to start an argument with Sleeping Warrior. And this literally is right after Professor Phil's finished. He's going to say, you can't show my DMs and my private emails, and that has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And, of course, this will go to something that Professor Phil said at the very beginning. If you want to have professional people come and try to work with you to build your model, to be able to show you scientifically where you are wrong and where you've messed up, you cannot attack them. You cannot try to have bad, and he said, quote, bad manners. Is it bad manners for Sleeping Warrior to show his DMs with Professor Phil and Ranty for this first thing right here, ignoring all of the evidence and ignoring all the other things that have come out? It is bad manners. And ironically, Sleeping Warrior is going to argue in a little bit that he has never had bad manners against Professor Phil. I don't believe him, because he has really bad manners against Professor Phil just here, just in this video. So you want me to believe that you didn't have bad manners with Professor Phil before this? I think you did. But he's going to, of course, make the argument to his flat earth cult, his flat church cult, that he didn't have bad manners. But take a witness to when the dumpster fire begins.
To that between me and Ranty on this. If you don't remove this right now, I'm leaving.
Well, leave. This was asked of you to provide this before you joined, so that I had an idea of what you were going to be presenting.
No. Sorry, you are not at liberty to disclose my private emails.
You were asked to provide some information.
Well, I don't believe you, Sleeping Warrior. I don't believe that you guys said, hey, Professor Philip, if you come on to talk to Sleeping Warrior, the first thing we're going to do is take all of we're going to ignore all the science, we're going to ignore all the points you made, we're going to ignore all the great things you said, and we're going to show your private messages with all of us leading up to this. You get me? What does that matter? I didn't hear one thing Professor Phil said that rested on him. So the only way that I could think that attacking what Professor Phil said leading up to this would matter is if Professor Phil argued about his knowledge or himself or his something, right? If he had made his conversation about Professor Phil, I could see how maybe, I couldn't see how, but just how you could make an argument at how showing his conversation could somehow relate to everything. But that's not what Professor Phil did. I challenge you to go back into this call and see where Professor Phil did this, because he didn't do this. There literally is no reason for Sleeping Warrior to want to show his conversation with Professor Phil. Unless he wants to attack him, unless he wants to divert from all of the debunking that Professor Phil did, unless he wants to divert from the fact that he's going to lose this conversation easily if he tries to rebut any of Professor Phil's points, right? So that's exactly what you're seeing. You're seeing the tactics of Anthony Riley. You're seeing the tactics of a dirty lawyer. If you were going to call him a lawyer, right, and apply like some type of knowledge he has, like he's trying to lawyer the shit out of Flat Earth, fine, but he's not a lawyer that gets up there and tries to do it within the law. He does it within the loopholes, and he uses semantic arguments. He tries to define words differently, or he'll take a definition from one place and say, this definition says this, globe earth debunked. When we know that in science, it doesn't matter what words we use to describe a phenomenon. It matters if the person you're talking to can understand the phenomenon that you're talking about, be able to represent it with those words. Reality isn't molded by the words we use. Of course, though, this is where he starts his tactic to divert from the fact that he's been completely debunked.
Excuse me, did I not ask you to be respectful?
I am being respectful. You were asked to provide.
Please remove my private emails, otherwise I leave. Now, Randy,
yeah, if you would like to, Tony, if you want to skip through to the next couple of slides.
Now, I have to give Ranty a little bit of credit, because I don't like Ranty. I do think he's disingenuous. I think he's only doing this for money. I have to give Ranty credit, even though I constantly talk bad about his actions on YouTube. I think that him standing up for Professor Phil here is excellent. I think that it shows that he's not just going to back Sleeping Warrior in everything, even when he's doing something illogical. It's a good thing that Ranty stepped in like, Sleeping Warrior, you're wrong on this one. This doesn't look good for us. Doesn't look good for Flat Earth. Doesn't look good at all for my channel if I let you do this. So go ahead and skip ahead. But what do you think Sleeping Warrior says? What do you think he does when the host of the channel tells him that it's rude, unneeded, and unnecessary?
Or something, and just forget this one for now.
I believe if you discuss my private, if you discuss me privately in any way, all my private emails, I will.
Okay, he's taken it. Okay, he's taken that off, so he's gonna go on to slide 2.
Is he gonna cry though? You think he'll cry about it?
Okay.
Stick yourself on mute, sir. I didn't interrupt once. I accept your criticism.
But he didn't try to show something about you. In fact, you both entered into this conversation accepting that you wouldn't attack each other. What are you doing? You think that people watching this aren't going to know what this is? Or do you just not care because the flat earthers that follow you have no backbone? They're willing to let this kind of stuff slip up as long as you can make some argument that makes them still feel comfortable with the flat earth. They're going to excuse it, right? Is that why? one other thing, somebody said it in the chat, whoever said, I think it was Negative or somebody. One other thing that outside of this conversation that Anthony has done is try to accuse a person who's debunked him of being a pedophile. That is something he's done. So the character of the people, Professor Phil, this is directed directly at you. The character of the people that make the flat earth argument, you don't really understand it at first, right? Professor Phil, you're probably confused. You're probably saying, you know, this guy agreed to not attack me. He agreed to try to debunk what I say and not try to target me in this. Why did he open with that? Why did he come at me with that? But if you think about it from, he's a person trying to prove the flat earth, it's surprising. It doesn't make sense. But if you think about it from, he's a con man trying to make money off of people by locking a conversation in proving the flat earth, right? See, here's what I mean. If Sleeping Warrior or Nathan Oakley or Jeranism or Bob actually met with a couple professors like Professor Phil's offering and sat down and said, the moon is local, the sun is local, let's draw up the math, let's see where we can prove this and see how we can work this, the professor would show why that's not the current model and that's not what we observe over and over and over, no matter what they threw at it, right? And very quickly would put to rest these arguments. These arguments are the backbone. They are the trend. They are the tropes that have popped off on YouTube over the last few years of the flat earth being a conspiracy theory movement. It would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to Nathan Oakley's show, Sleeping Warrior show, Pocket Word, any of these guys, if they did start to narrow down what is impossible, accept it, and try to move on. Because all they would do in every single regard is prove that the globe earth model is the correct explanation for all these things. And they know this. They need to attack people. They need to constantly take the argument out of the scientific realm back into the verbal, semantic realm. Because if they can make it all about semantics, wordplay, definitions, all of these things that have nothing to do with science, they can argue the flat earth on YouTube for another 5 years and keep getting donations and not having to actually go get a job. Without, though, one other option they have would be make good YouTube content. They don't know how.
Criticism, I've removed it. That doesn't change the direction that this is going. So sit yourself on.
So what does he say to Professor Phil when Ranty challenges him and he has to move the slide? That doesn't, this is a quote from Riley, that doesn't change the direction this is going to go. So mute yourself and shut up, basically. Right? You start to see an arrogance, a narcissism, an ego start to come out. It's like he thinks he has to win this conversation. That's something important to him. When the conversation is about what the world looks like, what you can prove about the world, somehow it becomes about Sleeping Warrior winning it, right? Of course, if you looked at his audience, that's what they're there for. They are there because they want him to win. They want him to have a gotcha moment over Professor Phil so that the flat earth can keep being carried forth, right? So you can see how these guys have a meta understanding about what the audience desires, and they have a meta understanding of how to give it to them by manipulating their opponent.
Unmute and let me respond to your points. The previous
if you discuss me personally, I'm going.
You'll leave.
You can discuss my points. You can discuss the science.
You can discuss the science, just don't discuss me personally. Well, I thought this was not trying to prove that Professor Phil is flat, right? You're not trying to come back with something Professor Phil has done. Why is Sleeping Warrior saying, well, go ahead and leave then? Because he plans on sitting down and discussing Professor Phil. He plans on attacking Professor Phil. I almost couldn't believe it. When I heard this for the first time, I'm like, there's no fucking way. He literally heard the doctor explain why it's illogical and crazy for you to attack him. I'm sorry, the professor. Why is he going to do this? He knows it's going to expose him, right?
You cannot.
This is gold, okay? This represents... when Sleeping Warrior in the future keeps doing the kind of crazy shit he does, this is one of those moments you can call back to. You could pull a video from. You could make a video, let's say in a month or a year from now, he... has a debate with someone and happens and he acts like a dick. Go back to this. Show how it's repeated behavior from him. Show how he's a con man. He shouldn't be given the dignity of getting to sit down and talk to the professor, right? Because the professor's only talking to him because he's been told the sleeping warrior will respect him, will address his points, right? Well, this needs to make sure next time some professor or scientist or physicist wants to sit down and do anything with Sleeping Warrior, make sure they know about this first, right?
Not discuss me or my career.
You can leave if you wish. This is going to happen whether you...
I'm going to discuss you, whether you like it or not. Go ahead and leave or not. It's the only thing I got. I can't talk about why the debunking of the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth thing you said that debunks the flat earth. I can't discuss anything that would come back against that. I'm left with only attacking you, Professor Phil, so you can either just go ahead and leave, because I'm going to do this. I'm going to attack you right now. I bet Professor Phil, I'm like wondering what he thinks. I want to watch this live with Professor Phil here so he can explain how he felt every step of the way.
You let me, or whether you don't, you can leave. So, the previous slide that he didn't want me to share, even though he was asked to...
He's going to tattletale on the professor. You got to ask yourself, did the professor do something that makes his argument for the globe earth debunked? Because that's what Riley thinks. Wonder what he did. Let's hear.
Provide some information. He wanted an apology for showing disrespect.
Well, wait a minute. Your point you're going to make about the professor is that you were a dick. He got upset about it and said, look, I'm not going to come to the debate if Sleeping Warrior doesn't apologize. You see, Sleeping Warrior, he did that for a reason, right? Now, this is what evidence I have for you. This is the thing I have to show you that shows that the professor did sit down with Ranty and Sleeping Warrior and talk about how we weren't going to attack each other, right? That's why it was the first thing the professor said. It was a condition that the professor already knew that he had to address and get a promise for. Sleeping Warrior is a liar. In fact, he's been called a pathological liar by several people out there who have tracked his antics on YouTube for a while. And I believe them. With the evidence I've seen, I believe them. I'll do a video to it sometime here in the future, but he is a pathological liar. He lied to Professor Phil to get him on the show, knowing it would be a big video for Ranty, right? He sat down and listened to what he had to say, knowing he was going to attack him in the middle. He already had these slides prepared. Literally, before going into this discussion, Sleeping Warrior said to himself, well, he's going to come at me. He's a professor. He's going to debunk me and all the flat earth bullshit. I'm going to have to get these conversations ready. Maybe the audience is dumb enough that if we make people think that Professor Bell was a meanie head to me, then maybe they won't listen to all the debunking he did on the flat earth. That's his tactic.
And I don't feel as though there's any apology due for being disrespectful. And
Well, I'm sure. In fact, I will say it's 100% that you did disrespect him in some way before this show, and that's why he asked for an apology. That's a fact. I'll say that. Also, you right now are disrespecting him at this very moment. Just attacking him in general, just whining and crying about this event in itself is disrespectful to him. It's wasting his time. It's basically, saying you don't care enough about why he came here to talk to actually address it, right? Even more than that, he's actually going to say that he doesn't believe Professor Phil is a professor. He's going to pull out all the stops on attacking Professor Phil.
I'm going to cite some of his messages to me to justify why no apology is due.
Why does that matter, Sleeping Warrior? He literally debunked your flat earth on Ranty's channel. Now, I will say this, Conspiracy Cats, you are really good, dude. He has done so many videos showing how Ranty constantly proves the globe. Ranty himself, while trying to show the flat earth, he'll literally just show the globe earth like, it's flat, y'all. Look at the picture. It's flat. And it'll be a picture of a globe. Not only does he do that constantly, but then he has a professor on his show who proves the globe. So, I mean, everything Ranty does leads back to proving the globe. Conspiracy Cats, you're good at this, dude.
If he expects an apology for disrespect, it works both ways. Now, these are some messages from my...
It does work both ways. That's if he disrespected you. I don't believe he did. You didn't even show where he did, or you didn't even explain how he disrespected you. Before you could get an apology, I know you're really slow, Riley, but before this guy would have to apologize to you, you would have to justify the apology. You'd have to tell him what he did. So let's hear it, because I don't remember hearing what he needs to apologize to you for. You just said he did, though.
My comments recently from this guy who's now expecting or wanted an apology based on a lack of respect. He describes me as a narcissist.
This presentation, the fact that you had to prep those slides of his DMs and his emails alone shows that you do owe him an apology before coming in, and now you owe him several more.
Narcissist. Is that what it takes to be a flat earther? A willful...
So you didn't hear it, but he says, he describes me as a narcissist. Is that what it takes to be a flat earther? A willful display of
dishonesty?
Well, you are a narcissist, Riley. Complete narcissist. I would say, I would put money on you getting classified as a narcissist after going to talk to a few doctors. If they sat down and actually posed the question and you were honest with them, or maybe if they just looked at your videos and the behavior you have on YouTube, I think you would be diagnosed, literally classified as a narcissist. I'm not even trying to be mean. I'm just being real with you.
I'll make a video featuring his stupidity.
Riley lowers the IQ of any room he walks into. Ozzy Globehead. Thanks, Ozzy, man. Damn, dude. Why are you guys so nice to me? Thanks, buddy.
Without him, my last lecture covers most of the shit he keeps banging on about. Next one.
Well, if your last lecture debunked anything that he banged on about, why didn't you just say it like he did? He stood up there and said the debunks of your flat earth bullshit. You're not even going to address it? I mean, shit, you've already wasted a good 10 minutes sitting here fighting with the guy and disrespecting him again, owing him another apology if you want him to respect you whatsoever, which I doubt he has any for after this. But then again, you're not going to actually state the debunks for his stuff. I mean, he just did it to you.
I won't. Hang on. That's the next one. By the way, Anthony, you're a goose. They were not academics. Academics are teaching staff like professors and lecturers.
Yeah, I would say he's correct there. You got me? You could probably use some type of semantic argument to sit there and say how you talking to a few university students equates to you debating academics, right? But really, I think the professor's right.
I said academics are also university students, not just...
But you were implying by the use of the word academics that you were actually debating learned people that have already completed their training there. You see the point the man's making? Because everyone else can see it but you. Actually, I do think you see it. I just think you feel like if you can argue that definition for this, it makes you win, you know?
Just the teachers.
Whoa, Dab. I am back. Well, good, man. Wait a minute. Wait, I thought you were Shilly Shillington. Was I wrong? Dude, I have no clue what's going on, but thank you, buddy.
If you went, you'd know. No, they are not. You just like to make up...
Now, do you hear what he said? If you'd went, you'd know that students count. This is his first accusation that Professor Phillip is not a professor and did not go to college. He literally just accused him of not going to college, not teaching at a college for no reason. Like, literally. He's just mad at the guy, so he's making this accusation in front of the audience. Now, if you want me to get meta, if you want me to do a little bit of body language analysis here, or let's say argument analysis, right? Sorry, I have a segment called UNIRock's Body Language when I break this kind of thing down. He's only doing that to appease the audience. His audience is a lot of name callers, right? So let's say in your comments section, if the people watching were there and you decided to go in and one of them said, the sun is local, and you replied in the comments with, no, it's not. Here is the good debunk for it, and you explained it to him. They would come back and insult you. He knows that his audience loves that. It's like you know how like wrestling fans sometimes like that kind of thing. He's got a bunch of, no offense against wrestling fans, but you have to admit that wrestling compared to science is just one of those things you get to chill and watch. Okay, you get what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say, though, here, he's taken a bunch of wrestling fans to a science lecture, and he's trying to entertain them here, if you get my drift, right? Okay.
Your own definitions. You moron. I'm a professor at a university. Well, if you were a professor...
Well, Sleeping Warrior, here's the problem. You do make up your own definitions, right? You do misrepresent definitions, and you do argue semantics with every video that you make. I think I'd have a hard time finding one of your discussions, debates, or videos where you are not arguing semantics. Now, you do deserve to be called a moron with the way you were talking to him, I would assume, and he is a professor at a university, and you are trying to say you know more about the university than this professor even does. It's very disrespectful. What happens when you're disrespectful towards somebody? They typically demand an apology. So Sleeping Warrior goes even further to prove that Professor Phil did deserve an apology from him, right? He's trying to use that as some argument for why Professor Phil's wrong about everything he just said that debunks the flat earth, but instead proves that Professor Phil really did deserve an apology. It's kind of weird that he would do that.
At a university, I would expect you to understand that the meaning of the word academic does include the scholar at the university, not just the teaching staff. We were all academics when we went through university.
See what I'm saying? Why in the world do you find this important when the man just damn debunked 12 points of the flat earth perfectly? Of course, it's to buy time. It's to separate in the minds. He knows how to work the minds of the viewer. If he gives some time in between all the debunks that Professor just laid down, and he gives enough time in it, the audience is going to start losing the thought of those debunks, because those debunks most likely are working on his flat earth audience. They're most likely saying, holy shit, I'm wrong, aren't I? I shouldn't be fighting for the flat earth like I am, because I am definitely fighting for a belief system and not some type of scientific argument like I've been fooled into thinking. And that thought is sinking in on people after hearing what he said, knowing that the audience and potential future audience is full of flat earthers. He's got to try these tactics so that he can try to keep as many of them corralled inside the sheeped out narrative that he's put out there, right? This is his defense tactic.
Everybody gets described as academics. I don't know why you're taking issue with my definitions. Everybody understands the meaning of that word. My question is, how is it the UK seems to have more than its fair share of imbeciles?
So your response to a massive debunk of the flat earth is, and I'll quote you, why does the UK seem to have more than its fair share of imbeciles? Now I'm kind of understanding why you believe in the flat earth.
And then in reference to David Copter, or whatever that name is this a new word for really stupid in the fact that he's subbed? I said, but you can't science. Just like the idiots that I met from Liverpool recently, you preach.
Okay, what do you call what he's doing here? Can I just make a point so I can end this? Hey, William, thanks for calling this botched abortion out. It gives me a headache to think that people would listen to him. William, I'm with you. And this video is excellent proof that he doesn't know what he's talking about and that he is just a charlatan. So we have to remember these types of videos, these conversations that really prove this stuff about these specific people. Because in the future, when they try to, fool more people into following their narrative, these types of things are like flu shots, right? They are preventative. They are cures for Sleeping Warrior's virus narrative. You got me? Anyway, though, I'm going to round this out. What did Professor Phil say in the beginning? We're not here to attack each other. I expect not to be attacked. And if you would stop attacking professionals like professors, like the people that want to step up and maybe help you guys understand the universe a little better, more of us would come out of the woodwork to actually sit down and talk to you. Have you ever seen the Flat Earth debate lately? Nathan Oakley's? Like when I was watching it maybe 6 or whatever months ago, whenever we started to look at it, he would have guests pretty often. He would have people jump in there to talk. Have you seen that lately? They barely ever can find a Glober to come in because they're exactly right. Why would anybody want to waste their time with a bunch of people who seem like they're confused in reclassifying science to fit their narrative, or even better, I could say, they are following a belief system where they've been fooled into thinking that it's a scientific argument. You got me? Like, what do you call people that follow the flat earth, that do these types of things, like Riley and like Dell, like Arwen, like Oakley? What would you call those people if they amassed a following that were fooled into thinking that their belief system and their rhetoric equated to science? Well, you could say they're some kind of like rabbi or priest, right? And that they're following, you could pretty much classify them as flat churchers. You get me? I hope you will. I'm putting out a plea to the community. Let's start calling these guys what they are. Flat churchers. Flat earth is ridiculous. It's easily disprovable. We need to exercise that point, that these guys are following a belief system, and no matter how many times they try to scream about how it's not, until they show some evidence, until they do what the professor stated, until they sit down and make a model, until they can make a model that not only predicts one thing, but could actually encompass everything happening, they should be called flat churchers until then, in my opinion. The things like this, though, they take a little bit of that flat church and break it down, right? They kind of knock out the structure a little, the foundation for it. So hopefully there'll be more people like Professor Dave Explains or Professor Phillip who you know, even though they know they're going to get attacked, they know that people are going to try to challenge their accomplishments. Maybe they'll try to stand up for science, because these guys are amassing, I wouldn't say a big following. They're still amassing a bit of a following, though. I want to actually here at the end also thank Professor Phil for going through this, right? It's not right for Sleeping Warrior to say that he's not a professor when Professor Phil actually uploaded proof to a webpage, right? And for all I know, is Professor Phil faking? You have to actually show evidence before you make that claim, Riley. You can't just say it because you're mad at the guy. But in the end, any time in the future where Sleeping Warrior starts to get a little bit cocky, just remind him of this conversation, because it pretty much proves everything about the guy, you know? Don't go anywhere. I've got a few little things to show you that happened today, and then we're going to get out of here. But thank you for being here. And to people that donated tonight, thank you. It's how I couldn't do my show without you. It's just excellent. Let's move on. Okay. So, when I saw that this video was uploaded today, it piqued my interest, because I said to myself, one, well, like, what in the hell does he mean by there's a robot taking drugs on the ISS? And then I saw those two magic words in front and said, damn, we got to watch that on the show. So let's take a look. What's he saying? Let's see.
Saga going on. It got there, now they've sent it back. You have to ask, why have they sent it back? Well, let's have a look. Let's have a look at the footage. It would seem that robot is on drugs, as we're about to see. I'd say LSD, as it's just tripping out as it's come through the hatch. It's doing a few exercises. Just looks like it's on drugs. I'm going to say magic mushrooms or LSD. Let's have a look.
Okay. Level Earth Observer, I will give it to you. I'll open my mind. I will consider that this robot is on drugs. I'll consider it for you so that we can react to your video. But you got to do me a favor. Don't get mad at me if I determine that it is you who is on drugs by the end of this.
No human passengers flew to the International Space Station.
Just totally tripped out here. Let's have a look at this thing.
He looks like a normal robot to me. I mean, he doesn't seem to be shaking. Doesn't look like he's, his eyes don't seem dilated. He doesn't seem like he's jonesing for the next fix. I don't see it, Level Earth Observer. I don't see it.
The Soyuz MS-14. But
wait, somebody get me a clip of Morguile. I'll compare Morguile to this, and then I'll know if the robot's on drugs or not. if he looks like Morgile, okay, fine, but...
Fyodor, a humanoid robot, was strapped into the center seat of the Soyuz vehicle for the ride uphill, as he is for the ride back to Earth
I reckon he's getting traces off his hands.
later this afternoon. The robot was unstrapped from the...
Tracers, you know what he's saying? You know, like the movies, like what movie is that where they go to Vegas? Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he takes the acid and he moves his hands and there's all these like, there's this little like shadow that goes by. Okay, I think that's what he's
Soyuz
talking
commander seat in the center seat of the Soyuz vehicle was brought inside the Russian segment of the station, and this video...
Multi Tom Tom says space is fake. Proven. Really? Oh. You got a video? You got a link that proves it? Because I would love to see it.
Taken last...
This is why I go on about this. Space is just absurd.
Oh, it is it?
You've got this robot tripping its fucking nuts off.
I think you're tripping your nuts off.
You notice it's attached to...
No. I don't think you're tripping right now, Level Earth Observer. I think that back in the 70s or 80s, you tripped a lot. That's what I think. I think this is the aftermath of a mind that was ravaged by acid and shrooms. Yours, I mean, Level Earth Observer, but we'll give you another few minutes. We'll see if we change our mind here. Maybe he gets logical all of a sudden. Maybe he has some evidence.
To a cable, right? It's no better than the toy robots that were attached to cables in the 1970s. I would have thought by now we would have at least had robots.
He kind of is slurring his voice, isn't he?
That could think for themselves. You could communicate with them.
We do. We have robots that can think. They run lines of code and react to you, and they can communicate with you. We have that.
There's a problem out on the wing, blah, blah, blah. Go and sort it with you. They'd run.
You've been watching too much freaking Star Trek if you want this by now, okay? You've been watching way too many Star Wars. And I watch a lot of Star Wars, but maybe you watched too much Star Wars after you took that LSD you keep talking about.
Now deal with it. Bish bosh bang.
Bish bosh bang.
Well, no. I mean, look at this.
Bish bosh bam. I like that. Bish bosh bam. That's my new thing, man. Bish bosh bam. I like that. I'm taking that. I'm going to steal that.
Tell you this.
Weekend shows Skvortsov and Ovchinin sending commands to the robot and testing out its ability to react to those commands. All of this testing part of the...
I'd love to know what they've been eating on that ISS.
Why is this so weird to you, Level Earth Observer? I don't understand. Like, this seems simple. It doesn't even seem complicated, you know? It seems like what they're doing is like testing the difference between when the robot moved in gravity to not. And they're moving his arms around, recalibrating the thing. I don't even get why you're so surprised.
The test flight of the Soyuz vehicle and this particular humanoid robot.
He's really amused.
Refinements to...
Rumor has it there's going to be some illegal raves going on in that fucking ISS.
This robot
Rumor has it you went to a lot of those back in the day.
will be made in the future, and the Russian space officials will analyze its performance while on board the International Space Station before any determination is made for a reflight of this hardware.
Yeah, it's exactly what
Ridiculous.
I was saying, man. It's exactly what I was saying.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Why? Give me a
So
why.
CGI fucking hubble.
What? CGI? Then why are you complaining about how it's moving and shit? It's not real. If it's CGI, it's in a computer. It's fake. It can't be on LSD if it's CGI. What are you talking
Images. Some of the worst acting ever as far as that rocket launch.
about? Now you're just trolling. Now we figured you out, Level Earth Observer. You're just a troll. Because you can go watch the rocket launches. I mean, if it is acting, why do the rockets catch fire, spit out a bunch of smoke, lift off, fly up into the air? Why is that the case if it's acting? I don't think you thought this one out. Maybe that's the problem, Level Earth Observer. You don't think many things out, do you? Program receives signal, SIG-serve, segmentation fault in robot on meth. Cannot access memory at address 0xF256 at Morgile Robo on meth. Very, very good point. That's a Robo Morgile breakdown in front of your eyes. They say they're going to prove the flat earth in 2 minutes. I take the challenge. Thinking is to flirfs as garlic is to vampires. And William adds, this guy probably tries to roofie Alexa. So good. Cajun, thanks for the dono. William, thank you, man. Appreciate it, you guys. You know, when flat earthers do this and zoom in and out on things, it's kind of cute, isn't it? Isn't it a little cute? You know what I mean? You know what I mean by that? It's kind of like it's like a kid. And for the first time, a kid's figured out, I don't know, for the first time a kid sees a butterfly or something, it's like, ooh, zoom in, zoom out, woo, you get me? Next up, he says that the ice wall is real, and he has the proof. And he's saying that sending boats to the ice wall equals flat Earth. Take a look. Multi Tom Tom gave his evidence for why space is fake, and he says it is Mandela read the scriptures. That's what he says is his. That's from the live chat. My live chat is devolving into that. Don't worry, though. I know I got my peeps in there to keep it straight. Well, you know what, guys? I got to throw in the towel. I got to become a flat earther because, look, it's flat. I mean, God, he's got the evidence. Wait, hold on a second. Why is the edges going up and down? Wait. Now, hold on a minute. When I look all the way to the edge, look, it looks like it's concave here. Oh, my God, and look, it looks like it's the opposite of concave. I forget what it is. There. This couldn't be a fisheye lens, could it? I mean, if it is a fisheye lens, we wouldn't know if it was curved or not at this height. No, it is. Look, it is a fisheye lens. Well, shit, dude, I was just about to convert. I was about to convert to a flat earther. Then I realized that this is a fisheye lens. Damn it, man. You almost had another flat earther. You almost had another flat earth YouTuber on your team until I realized that you guys are full of shit. Damn. Oh, so close. Let's see your last proof. Okay, so your last proof is a... What is that called? These are called what? Dog something, right? Somebody tell me in the chat. It's a shit, dude. It's a effect of the sun called something dog or dog. A sun dog? Is that it, Justin? That's all it is sun dog? Anyway, we've got a sun dog, and that's it. Now hold on a minute, Mr. Truth. Mr. Truth. Holy shit, dude, Mr. Truth, you are so lucky I stumbled into this video. Because your channel is named Mr. Truth, right? So that means that what you put on your channel has to be true. Well, if I wouldn't have just saw that this video is completely full of shit and I've just debunked a major part of it already, well, shit, dude, you would have never known so that you could take this video down and keep your channel Mr. Truth, right? I mean, either that or you could leave the video up and you could change your channel's name. What would work? What would work if you had a video that was not true on your channel, Mr. Truth? We could call you Mr. Lie, maybe? Maybe? Well, wait a minute now. Hold on. Truth 12. Hold up now. There's not just a whole bunch of copy pasta bot-like channels going around uploading a bunch of flat earth content trying to make some quick ad revenue right now, are there? There cannot be all these different channels popping up spamming flat earth shit out on the internet in a bot-like fashion where they have the word truth and then a number in their name. That wouldn't be happening right now, right? Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. So let's go ahead and ignore that then, since that's not happening, and let's take a look at the claim of the video. Massive flat earth disinfo campaign to discredit investigation. Christopher Green. Christopher, whatever this is, it's in all caps, and it has the word massive in it. You gotta hook us up.
Christopher Green. I'm doing a few videos today. I've got a lot of content. I want to talk about flat.
I don't know who Christopher Green is. Wait a second. I've seen this guy before. This is not a bit. I'm not doing a bit right now. I'll do a bit after I say this, okay? I've seen this guy before talking Pizzagate. Tell me he's not the guy that was talking Pizzagate bullshit in Joelbot's video from like 2016. Tell me that wasn't him. Definitely was him. 100% I've heard this full talk, the discredited, completely debunked Pizzagate myth.
Flat Earth. And this is something I've had zero interest at all until I saw the blatant censorship, until I saw the disinfo and the...
Okay, so you saw censorship of it, and that made you think that it was... what?
Misinformation being put out by companies like Walt Disney Company and mainstream personalities. And I noticed things like when you search it in a search engine, all you get is misinformation. You don't even get real critical thought on it. So I started...
Chris, now I hate being the bearer of good debunkery. Actually, I don't. That's what I do. But you do know that YouTube edited their searches to take out things like Flat Earth and crazy conspiracy theories like Pizzagate. They've edited their search now to take that stuff out. I don't agree with it personally. I think it's a bad idea. I think we should combat the misinformation, the lies, the bullshit of the world with debunking, with science, with education. Make it into a funny twist. That way, in the end, when people wake up from the red-pilled lies that have been shoved down their throat, they could actually open their mind and realize, oh, God, these guys were nice in the beginning, and they debunked me but made a joke out of it, of course. So, you know, I'll go back. I'll give them a little credit for being cool about it, you know. That's the best way to handle it. I don't agree with the censorship, but I'm going to say this, Chris. Just because something gets censored does not mean that it's true, and it doesn't mean that it's false. It means that it's censored.
Researching, I started looking into it. More importantly, I started studying Scripture.
Oh, my God. Now, I like the fact that you're studying Scripture, Chris. Maybe get a good perspective. Use the words of the ancients to try to look at how you live your life and maybe take a little bit of their knowledge, even though it's dated and even though they got a lot of things crazily wrong in some parts. Try to find the good things in the Scripture and maybe, like, take it as a little bit of advice or something. But what the hell does this have to do with censorship?
Literal Scripture. I revisited Genesis, for example, and I want to...
Genesis, it has to do with the creation of the world. I've visited Genesis a few times myself. What does that have to do with censorship, Chris?
Read to you what it says about the firmament, flat earth, and then I want to talk a little bit about these misinformation propaganda campaigns being released by mainstream YouTube personalities like Logan Paul to discredit the truth.
How do you know Logan Paul wasn't just trying to go viral by clickbaiting flat earthers, creating controversy, and then increasing his brand through ad revenue, clicks, and other things like a lot of people saying his name in places where his name isn't normally said, which would increase him getting searched inside the algorithm and do positive things for his business? How do you know it's not just that, bro? Does it really have to be a Disney conspiracy theory? Because Logan Paul lied to you?
Potentially, and also others
No, it could be. I'm saying it could be, but you need some evidence.
that are being used to discredit the conspiracy theory movement.
Well, that's because the conspiracy theory movement, 99.6% of it is complete fucking bullshit. That's why. Because it literally, 99% of if you see truth in a channel, not saying it makes them a bad channel, because, you know, there are a couple good channels out there that have the word truth in their name, but for the most part, if you do see the word truth in a channel, you should be very skeptical in the beginning, because a lot of people do this, Chris. They try to take things that have a little bit of viral aspect to them, like flat earth, conspiracy theories, religion, Genesis. They take things like that. They speak them in a video so that they can maybe get another big group of people to click their names. Actually, that whole thing I just described Logan Paul doing, that's what those 99.6% of the conspiracy channels on the internet do too.
People like Shane Dawson. All of these people work for the same entities. And my video editor, notice this, have the same video editor. It's the
Well, you do know that they all live in the same area. You do know it's because they all started on YouTube at the same time, have been friends with each other since the beginning, and hang out with each other, and they're all friends. You do know that happened back when they were poor, before they were on YouTube, right? I mean, if you do have some extra evidence, I'll consider them to be whatever you're saying they are. But that's not enough.
same editor because they're all a part of the same Hollywood studio.
How do you know it's a Hollywood studio? Why isn't it just a YouTube studio? They're not in Hollywood, are they? I thought Dawson lived in a different part of California. I don't know. It's been a while since I looked at Shane Dawson, so maybe he does live in Hollywood. Maybe you're right, Chris.
In Los Angeles, and they're using the same techniques and the same propaganda tactics. Take it from a guy who is a student of propaganda and is literally an expert. I've been studying.
You're not an expert in propaganda. You literally believed in Pizzagate, a literal propaganda campaign put out to politically influence people into not voting for a specific person and then to vote for a different specific person when the polls were very close to each other. No, you are only an expert in propaganda because you believe in it too often. And those types of experts in propaganda can only give you the expert side of propaganda. They can't give you some meta debunk of it. Sorry, Chris. It's a fact. You woo-wooed.
This for more than a decade now, and this is the messaging being put out by your government and mainstream media institutions.
Well, I would agree when it comes to Logan Paul. I would agree it's even possible with Shane Dawson. But you have not proven that in any way. If you are an expert on propaganda, you would know how complicated of a topic it is and how much you really have to prove every one of your statements when you look at propaganda, because, you know, the whole thing about propaganda is that everybody's lying to you on every side of it. So, you know, maybe you're a tool of propaganda, Chris. Maybe that's why you feel like you don't have to have a burden of proof on what you say and that you can just bring up a bunch of external points to try to prove something, because we all know bringing up external points and trying to connect them together is how conspiracy propaganda is formed, propagated, and pushed down the throats of the believers.
Again, I wasn't even interested in this until I saw the blanket censorship, which tells me there's truth to it.
Oh, gotcha. You're an expert, Chris. You're such an expert. The only thing... So you know what I need to do if I'm a propaganda company? The only thing I have to do to get people to believe in something is to get one person, make them get up there and talk about my conspiracy, let them get a big following, let a lot of people watch them, and then censor them. And then immediately it makes it true. Or it could just mean that they got censored, dum-dum.
Tells me that they're panicking. They're in panic mode, and they don't want us to have real, tangible information. More importantly,
well, actually, Chris, you using the term panic mode is really bad right now, because there's a couple conspiracy theories that have actually made that word popular lately. I think you've been drinking the conspiracy Kool-Aid, Chris.
they don't want you to think critically about it. See, we're in the
No, I think you don't want people to think critically about what you're saying.
Information age.
Because that's exactly what I'm doing right now.
There's so much information, they can't shut down individual ideas. What they can do is muddy the waters. And this is what the tactic is. This is why.
Chris, do me a solid. Rewatch this while you have a mirror, like right next to you. So you're looking in the mirror the entire time. Bro, you literally are stating what you're doing. You're projecting right now.
Logan Paul just did a video on flat earth. It's why Shane Dawson just did a series of videos on conspiracy theories.
Shane Dawson has always done videos on conspiracy theories. Back when he had no following, he was doing videos on it. I'm not defending Shane Dawson. I bet he's just as big of a media plant as everyone else that's a media plant, bro. But come on, hit me with the evidence. Hit me with something more. Please, dude. Well, I know that me begging you to do this is just useless because this is what you are now, but still. You overdosed on the Kool-Aid. You weren't just drinking that shit. You're swimming in the Kool-Aid. You got a Shane Dawson / Jake Paul like pool in your backyard, and every day before you do a video, you take a dip in the Kool-Aid, bro.
It's to discredit the real truth.
And let me guess, you're a real truther.
Independent critical thinking, and really the scientific process. Isn't that what critical thinking is? Investigating ideas and then seeing it to verify if it's actual fact.
So give me the actual facts, or I'm going to have to use the scientific process to show you what you're doing, which is trying to create a conspiracy theory around other conspiracy theories.
In factual information. So let's revisit Genesis, because a lot of people have missed this. We talked about this in studio.
Okay, you do know, though, how Scripture works. You do know this, right? You do know that Scripture, there are a lot of schools of, you can go to university and get different degrees. And a lot of people that study it on the most intense level actually have to learn different languages because the translation, when it comes to Scripture, translating it into different languages makes the passages carry different meanings. And entire discussions, entire debates come up trying to say that this line of Scripture actually means this, or that line of Scripture means that, because you could translate this word this way, that way, and this way. I'm not going to go into it, of course, but Chris, this is a slippery slope unless you're going to give me some really educated meta breakdown of the passage you're going to use.
And I'm going to read to you, this is from the King James Version, the exact biblical wording and text. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was without form and void, and darkness was on the face of the deep.
Why are you... Wait, Chris, why are you showing the ice wall right now? This is what you just described. This is a form of propaganda that you're using while reading this to implant some type of imagery inside people's minds so they will take what you're saying and apply this to it, right? It prevents them from drawing their own conclusion of what the passage means, and you're actually trying to visually represent what you want the passage to mean. Bruh.
Of the deep. And the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light.
You didn't just show waters above and below. Ironically, did you? That wasn't a coincidence, was it? Because it seems like you're trying to build an argument for the firmament right now. You're trying to tell me what they meant by the firmament already, and you haven't even said firmament yet.
But it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. Light and darkness.
Sorry.
He divided it. God called the light.
He divided
light
it.
Day, and the darkness he called night.
And he called Chris.
So the evening and the morning were the first day. That was day one. Then God said, "Let there be a firmament." Firmament. Go look this.
Why? Did I just turn into a 3-year-old? Firmament. Did you just eat some peanut butter? Did your jaw lock up? Firmament. Come on, bro. You really need to sit down and do a really hard study of the translation of the word they're using as firmament, what it possibly could mean, like the different explanations for it. I mean, there's 100 places you'd have to go before that whole scientific word kicks in, and you really can't like mix up science and biblical passage. I mean, you're really going down a slippery slope there. You got me?
This up. What is a firmament? The firmament is heaven.
I think his jaw did lock up. I mean, he was just like, blah, 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 blah. He was trying to loosen up his lips, like, blah, 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 blah. I mean, firmament does work the vocal cords. Maybe he just had a little bit of a slip up.
Read that
there,
again.
okay?
Let there
Don't read it again. Don't read it again, Chris. Don't do it. Your mouth is gonna straight lock up if you try to say firmament that many times again. Stop, Chris.
be
Stop.
a firmament in the midst
I knew it. I knew it.
of the waters. In the middle of the waters.
I apologize. I'm getting a little bit silly. I'll dial it down a little bit. Damn, Chris.
Let's read that one more time. Let
Damn, Chris.
there be a firmament in the
come on.
midst
Come
of
on,
the
Chris.
waters.
I can't focus when you keep doing that, okay? You're making me lose my focus, Chris. Stop saying firmament like it. Stop it. Stop it right now, Chris.
And let it divide the waters from the waters. So there's a firmament, and it's dividing
There's I swear all I hear is blah, blah, blah when he says firmament.
water from water.
Oh, I love this guy.
Thus God made the firmament
Say it again.
and
Say it-
divided
yep.
the waters which
Yep.
were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament.
No! Stop saying firmament. You're going to piss me off.
And it was so. Let me read that paragraph again and study it.
No, don't read it again. Okay, I'm out, Chris. You only get one more read through and I'm done, okay? I'm bailing on this.
Very closely. Then God said, let there be
Oh,
a
fuck.
firmament. The firmament is the heaven. That's the heaven. The stars, the sun, the moon. And in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters.
All right.
Thus God
He should be done with the word firmament. I apologize to my entire audience. I will never play another person that uses the word firmament that many times in a sentence ever again. Please forgive me.
made the firmament and
I'm out, Chris. I'm out. Stop. No. Yeah, Justin said so. The firmament firmamented the firmament into a firmament. That's right, Justin. That's right. That's all I heard, at least. That's all I heard. All right. You know, I think we just found a reoccurring character for my show. I think every night, at least for the next few days, we're going to go grab a Chris video. We're going to go grab one of Chris's videos, and we're going to break it down for you, because he might have some troubles with some different words, but for the most part, he's an entertaining character. Now, this is my last slide of the night. Man, that sucks. We're having such a good stream. I don't want to end it, bro, but we're going to hit the 2-hour mark, so this is my last thing I have for you. Thanks for being here, y'all. Appreciate you. Flat Earth mathematics. Oh, I'm sorry. It's Flat Earth times mathematics divided by Sleeping Warrior and Ali B versus Globe Earth math. Very complicated equation, and what it equals to is 0. 0 divided, like 0 next to parenthesis Sleeping Warrior's IQ. Which is IQ is always a 0, so the answer is always 0. This demonstrates Sleeping Warrior, and since we looked at Sleeping Warrior in the beginning, this fully demonstrates why he's such a fucking moron. And then I'm out of here. So let's take a listen.
Ali, if you have 5 apples and you do nothing to them, you're not applying an operator to them.
Right, but so if you have 5 apples and you try multiplying or dividing by absolutely nothing with them in the real world.
Well, if you take 5 apples and you divide by 0, then you get 0 apples, right? If you multiply by 0, you get 0 apples, right? Did I say that wrong?
You've still got your 5 apples.
You can listen to these guys and literally get stupid. You will literally get dumber than you started. I'm not kidding. You will start to forget things like math, your name, where you live. You'll drool. You'll start drooling. You will lose IQ points listening to these guys.
However, in contrast, in mathematics, the minute you press that function button, be it divide or multiply, you then lose your apples, and then you ask it to do nothing, and then you get an error. But in
Bro, bro, you're looking at math all wrong. And why is it that you looking at math, where does a button come into play? You should be doing that math in your head. You should be really learning it. Maybe that explains it. Maybe that's why Riley is so against mathematics. He's always used a calculator. He's never learned anything. He doesn't know how to do a single equation. He hasn't memorized a single equation. He doesn't know what a times means. Maybe that's what it is. I think we've discovered the problem.
Real world, you haven't lost your apples or got an error, but in mathematics, you have.
Well, that means your equation doesn't apply to the real world and you can't use it. Duh. That's where the model comes in. Your model shows the equations. Equations are infinite, Riley. Infinite. There's an infinite number of equations out there. The cool thing about science is that the model that you have applies. It shows you which equations, what math, what processes apply to what you're looking at. It also tells you which equations do not apply to what you're looking at. Got me?
It's not
but that's not the question that division.
Is Blue in there? Is Blue in here? I didn't know Blue was there. I love Blue. Blue Marble Science, one of my favorite YouTube channels. He's so fucking awesome. I need to get Blue on my channel sometime. I got to talk to him. He's a really good creator. If you're not subscribed to Blue Marble Science, make sure you check him out because he's just awesome.
Is answering. When you divide, by your logic, when you divide 4 apples into 2, you still have 4 apples, right?
No.
In the real world, if you have 4...
Yes, you do. Yes, you do, Riley.
4 apples and divide them into 2 groups, you still have 4 apples. Therefore, the answer is 4. No, that's not how it works. You're supposed to answer how many apples are in each group. Now, if you take 5 apples and divide them into 0 groups, how many apples are in each group?
So when you said before, if you had 4 apples and divide by 2, you've still got your 4 apples. You haven't, because if you've divided by 2, I've got the other 2 apples. You don't have them anymore.
Exactly. There are 2 groups of 2 apples for 4 total, Anthony.
Yeah, but you don't have 4 anymore because I've got 2.
Yeah.
That would
The
be
sum total of apples is
that would be minus, wouldn't it?
still 4.
Yes.
No, you've got
My jokes are very bad. Okay, I'm sorry.
2. I've got 2. That's the function.
Yes. Then that is a total of how many apples, Anthony?
I had a simple point.
He won't say it.
4 apples and
Anthony's not going to answer you what the total is because he's going to know it makes him wrong. This is how he constantly argues semantics in a dishonest fashion.
You have 5 apples and divide it into 0 people. How many do no people have, right? How many does each person in that group of 0 have?
the key word is you. If you divide by 0 apples, you've still got your...
This is a major facepalm alert for this video, okay? If you are prone to facepalm, grab an oven mitt.
5 apples.
That's not how it
What is big?
Basically, 3 globe earthers are trying to explain basic elementary mathematics to Anthony Riley. That's what this clip is. It's a powerful clip. After Riley had this conversation, he started to go around and argue that mathematics do not work in reality, ever. He said that you can't use math for anything after this conversation. It really affected the poor man.
I think Big Blue's trying to get something across here.
Yeah, well, I was making a simple point. If 5 divided by 0 mathematically is a puzzle to you, Anthony, how do you plan on understanding tensor calculus?
How do you plan on understanding anything, Riley? Who handles your money, Riley? Do you have an assistant who takes care of your cash? How do you pay your rent, Riley? How do you buy food? Because you do buy it.
Because that's Einstein.
I'm not planning on understanding tensor calculus.
Then if you don't intend on learning any complicated math, don't bitch about curve and the shape of the earth and things like that. All right?
Why is that a red herring?
It's not a red herring. You're trying to disprove somebody using their own math, but you don't understand 5 divided by 0.
Very good point. Have we now completely identified flat earth in this show? I think so. I will make a point, a grand point. a point to the scale of complete destruction of the flat earth. But I'll let Anthony go for a few more seconds.
Yeah, listen,
That's my
if you
point.
got 5 of anything and then you divide by nothing, you've still got your 5. However, in maths,
The
if you
question
divide
had nothing to do with apples, Anthony. The question was simply, what is 5 divided by 0?
All right. Tonight, I showed you a few videos that were uploaded today, but in speaking about Anthony Riley talking to Professor Phil, and then this last video giving you a demonstration of his knowledge of math and the world around him, I now will make a point to apply this to the other flat earthers out there. What you have are a group of people who are interested in being right all the time, finding something that they all belong to, some group of people that'll pay them, analyzing those people, understanding them to a complete level, and using that type of understanding, applying it to complicated subjects in a wrong way so that you can woo them, you can confuse them, and you can mislead them to defend you, to back you up, to excuse your behavior, and continue for years, even going on years with some of them, like Nathan Oakley, Jaronism Bob, or any of the others. So they continually get donations from an ever-changing amount of different people. Some people wake up to the flat earth that watch these guys. They say to themselves, my God, I can't believe I ever believed in that bullshit. Why didn't I just go back to Element? Why didn't I just Billy Madison myself? Why didn't I go back to school if I was going to actually get behind any of these guys and actually learn some shit, remind myself of what I learned back then? The older we get, if you're not sitting down and studying and reading, the more you're going to forget, right? So you've got to keep educating yourself. And when you don't, you could step into the trap of letting somebody woo you, as you saw with the Chris guy, into believing in something that's completely false. If they are dishonest enough, if they don't respect you enough, as you saw with the clip in the beginning, right, where Riley obviously doesn't respect Professor Phil for no reason. You got me? And you could wind up at the end realizing, I've been a globe earther this whole time. I'm back to the globe. I'm here again. I'm not going to watch these stupid flat earth videos anymore. I'm going to actually go back to learning science, and when I get something wrong, having somebody help me get to the right answer, correcting myself, expanding my knowledge. I'm back, guys. But you're going to be pissed when you open up your wallet or you go click on your bank account and you see how much money you've donated to people like Riley and Oakley. You're going to be angry. But then again, at least you're going to know why you were lied to for all those years, right? I'm out. Peace. Hit it. Guys, hey, calm down. Don't get scared. There isn't a real wall of UNIRock signs floating through space somewhere. It's just CGI, okay? Calm the hell down, guys. It's not a real video. It's just CGI. heading over to dlive.tv/UNIRocktv. We are partnered with them, so you will not experience lag. We do have transcoding over there at DLive. Thank you, DLive, for hooking us up. I'm going to go ahead and start the DLive signal right now to let it warm up, and we'll head over there in just a second. I really appreciate those that donated, including those that donated on Super Chat, Secret Shadow Gov, Fantarang, Aussie Globehead, Demonic Davros, William Peterson, S, Cajun, and William again. Can't do it without you guys. Thank you so much. Heading to DLive.